Don Jr. Was where Matt Gaetz wanted to be this week, desperately. Turning Points USA talking to conservative youth. But apparently, Matt Gaetz can't be within 500 yards of the place, so Don Jr. had to step in and show everybody what it takes to... it's kind of like a TED Talk, a brain dead talk. Brain dead talk. Like, he's teaching all these young kids who are just, in their first year of college what it takes to grow a beard that actually makes your chin smaller.
Media, right? Joe Biden.
Right.
Gives Putin a pipeline.
No, he has the pipeline himself. He didn't give it to him. It's a deal with the Germans. They need the energy. But let me guess, we're defending them against Russia. By the way, now that pipeline is in existence and we know that they're relying on that monetary source, we now have another sanctions leverage, which is why a lot of people are for it going through.
Remember, you guys can't have that pipeline in America.
We have lots of pipelines in America. We just don't want any Canadian ones.
You can't have the jobs, you can't have the security, you can't have the decrease in energy pricing by having...
Why would we have a decrease in energy pricing? Because Canadian shale oil gets to market across American territory. And if they poison our aquifers, do you think they're going to clean them up?
Cheaper transport of energy? You can't have it. Russia can have it, sure.
Well, it's not. They can't have one running across the United States. Tell you what, asshole. Nord Stream, Keystone XL, fuck them both if they go through the middle of the country.
That's not...
It just seems like I care more about the flyover states than you do.
Not Russian collusion. I promise you. The millions that Hunter got from the Russian oligarch, remember the...
No, Rosemont Seneca got that from the wife of the mayor, and she turned him in. He was the most corrupt guy, according to Rudy Giuliani, and she became rich because they helped her invest her money. They didn't get millions. They didn't get to keep that. Do you have any idea how investing works? Honest to God, you guys know the story anyways. Like $3 million to Rosemont Seneca from the mayor of Moscow's wife, and that money wasn't for them to keep. They invested it for her, and then they keep a percentage of the profits. In some, at most 100,000 or a couple 100,000, and depending on if they made they took the 3 and made 12, they're obviously going to make $750,000 off that. If she keeps rolling it, then they eventually make 20 or 25 or 30. Now she's the richest woman in Moscow now, so she very well may have that was actually a smart move on her part. But that's because they gave her investment advice and she followed it and her investments paid off. That might be the confusion point for Don Jr. because none of his dad's investments have ever paid off, and none of the people who've invested in his family have ever seen their money again.
Remember the ones tied to human trafficking and child trafficking and prostitution rings in Eastern Europe? Remember those things that if Don Jr. did it, it would be a real problem. If Hunter Biden does it, it's called Tuesday.
Yeah, we don't know what he's talking about. We'll have to find out. I'm sure there's a rumble about it somewhere.
Those things,
Tuesday.
Media? No, it's wonderful. We should do that. Joe Biden will get up. No, the EU is the backbone of NATO. I go, that's not true. Like, we're the backbone of NATO. We spend 70% of the NATO budget. You guys get to pay for that. And you know what?
Yeah, but their forces are the ones that carry it out. Like, we provide the financial support so we don't have to have troops if that shit goes down. Basically, we're protecting a bulwark. Well, the reason we put that much money in is because we're actually paying for the missile part. We're the ones that want shit. We want stuff where NATO territory is, in case the Russians decide to fire some shit on us or our allies. We pay for the big expensive stuff. They have the guns and the guys, and we have the missile defense systems, which are, not surprising, a lot more expensive. But for our national security, if you've ever played Risk, you know that's why we want those there.
You know what that money goes for?
Yes.
It goes to protect Europe from Russia.
No, it protects us from Russia, and it's way more expensive to put the shit that protects us from Russia there. And if we told Russia that, like, if Russia knew we were spending that money ourselves on those places, they would know we were planting missile defense things for our own security there, but we pretend we're just supporting NATO forces and saying we're buying them blankets and MP5s. You getting the feeling that Don Jr. actually thinks that the Pentagon pays $500 for a hammer and $900 for a toilet seat? Do you think he really thinks that's how much that shit costs? And that's not just a wink and a nod way of spending money and putting it on the books so that the Russians don't know what the fuck we're buying and where?
Who they are enriching with a pipeline that we allowed to happen.
Well, no, we actually have a choke point for their economy now. It's harder to stop ships, blockades, and kind of stuff like that. But if they start pumping all their oil through that pipeline, we could turn it off with a fucking, like, 2 dudes. There's a strategic reason to allow the pipeline if you have the ability to think past the end of your fucking nose and see past the white powder on the end of it, I suppose.
And then they get really patronizing, right?
Patronizing?
You, us, me, you know.
Yeah, you, us, me. I like that. It's the sequel to Me, Myself, and Irene.
Everyone that they consider not one of theirs, you know, the peasants. That's how they think of us. But you should be grateful because you saved 16 cents on your barbecue on 4th of...
What the fuck was that? Like, we've heard this stupid talking point, a bunch of this. Do we know? I have to look this one up. This one has gone by, like, let's see. Saved 16 cents on barbecue. The fuck is he talking about? Jen Psaki gets... it's the flippin' answer. Gives flippin' answer to grilled on tone-deaf White House. If you don't like hot dogs, you may not care. Flippin' answer when grilled on tone-deaf... about 16 cents saving on barbecue amid highest inflation for 13 years. White House came... Okay, so this is from a tweet from Jen Psaki. So this is what he's going about. If you don't like hot dogs, you may not care. Jen Psaki, move over. I don't care. Get out of the way. You're an ad and you're in the way. Stop seeing this ad. I don't want to see it. It's inappropriate, right? Let's see. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki tried to defend a White House tweet on Friday that boasted how President Biden's economic policies would be saving America 16 cents on traditional items for 14th barbecue. Planning to cook out this year? Catch up on the news. According to Farm Bureau, the cost of 4th of July barbecue is down from last year. It's a fact you must have heard. Hot dog, Biden administration planning orders, something to relish. The tweet was accompanied by a GIF. Let's see. Cost of 4th of July cookout from 2021 is down 16 cents from last year. I see. So this is the part that he's referencing. So lumber, we're ignoring lumber because all these food items are actually down 16. China is ramping up their threatening rhetoric. Gas prices are through the roof, and Psaki is talking about hot dog prices. I'm sorry. Are we supposed to shake in our boots every time a country ramps up their threatening rhetoric? Especially considering that most of the time when a country ramps up their threatening rhetoric, it's because they're on their heels about something and they're not boasting for us. They're boasting so their people don't recognize that they're in deep shit. Ducey, does the White House think 16 cents off a barbecue has more of an impact on people's lives than gas being $1 more? I would say if you don't like hot dogs, you might not care about the reduction of cost. They're talking about food. Okay, here we go. White House claims 4th of July cost. Let's see. Pork and beans is $1. Okay, so there's a bunch of these things. This is the overall on it. Down 5%. So they're talking about a percentage on a bunch of these things. 13% down from last year. Ground beef is down 8% from last year. Half a gallon ice cream is down 5% from last year. This is the kind of videos to put. Official White House count tweeted the cost of 4th of July cookout is down 16 cents from last year. That's because they added beer and that's stayed stable. AAA reported the national average for a price of a regular gallon has risen to $3.12, the highest it's been since Independence Day, you know, because people were driving again. Okay, so that's what the 16 cents part is about, because food's down like 5, 8, and 12% from last year. And then if you mix in alcohol, which has stayed the same, it screws the average. So 16 cents is what he's been bitching about.
4th of July.
Ground beef was down 8%. White House, I would have said the price of ground beef, if you like barbecuing, the price of ground beef is down 8% this year so far. Right? I mean, that would have done it. Does anybody want to check in with me when you have those issues in the future? Just run that shit by me. I can really help you out. I'm no Mad Men character, but I got a thing for that kind of stuff. All right, here we go.
I go,
guys.
let's play this out a little further. That's a wonderful savings. Wonderful. Because you can't say that it's BS, because then they fact check you and you're thrown off.
Right. But the problem you have is that you're saying everything is up, and the overall cost of all the items that you would want for a barbecue is actually down. Sure, it's down 16 cents, but it's hardly an argument for inflation, dickhead.
But I'll say, the only problem with it is, if you have to get in your car to go get said barbecue, and you drive about 12 feet, savings is gone. Right? Savings is gone. We know it's nonsense. You've seen the inflation. You've seen the price of lumber. You've seen the price.
By the way, just for the record, the inflation talking point is a big one. It gets all over. CNN covers this one a lot. They like it. Let's see. The real story is not inflation. And I know those at CNN might disagree with me. I certainly know that the Republicans will disagree with this idea because they don't think their own people understand the economic impacts of COVID, supply chain issues, and what's effectively a rubber band effect from supply chains. They've been held back, tightened. Once they open up again, it'll be a flood of goods on the market, and it will cause deflation, which is a much bigger concern. This is from the financial, what's this one? Who put this out? The FP Insider. This is, hold on, let me go back here. Because that's the big fear. Who will thrive in the coming deflation? Treasury and risk. They've been talking about this since last year. Who will thrive in the coming deflation? History suggests deflation is unavoidable in the near term, regardless of central banks' attempts to forestall it. Some companies will falter, but others are in position to survive, even thrive. This is the stuff that's popping back. So over the next year, that basically got put on pause because of COVID. Let's see. I'll put in the news one. Find the... yeah, this is a good one because lumber's the big one that they like to pull out as an example. Lumber erases all 2021 gains. Here's why deflation is the risk to watch, says Bloomberg Intelligence. This is July 13th, right here. Lumber was one of the best performing commodities this year, with many pointing to the price rally as a sign of accelerating inflation. But lumber's recent dramatic drop, which erased all the year-to-date gains, could be a sign that deflation is the risk investors need to watch, according to Bloomberg Intelligence. Lumber may indicate deflation is a greater risk, said Bloomberg Intelligence senior commodity strategist Mike McGlone. Looked more than 2 decades worth of timber and consumer price history, noting that analysis points to lumber futures going even lower. The only way you can stabilize the coming deflation in lumber prices is a massive housing boom. You have to start building like a crazy son of a bitch. What's the cure for high commodity prices? Lumber may know. The old adage that commodity prices have limited upside due to a primary factor, supply elasticity, may be more relevant than ever. Oh, it opened up his whole thing. Back up. Maybe more relevant than ever, we believe. Price peaks from 1H in lumber, inflation, copper, corn, soybeans. Lumber is now back to trading flat on the year after rising more than 120% since the start of 2021 when it hit record highs in May. At the time of writing, lumber for September delivery was down 6.1% on the day and trading at 669 per thousand board feet. The normal is like 711, 720 something. Free market capitalism and the rules of supply and demand may be gaining relevance and rapidly advancing technology for most commodities. The old adage that commodity prices have limited upside due to primary factor supply elasticity may be more relevant than ever. The initial demand shock from the pandemic-related shift away from living in cities could be more transitory than the supply elasticity of lumber. The former Trump administration trade restrictions and an enduring period of moribund prices resulted in a near-perfect storm for a pop in lumber. Demand versus supply economics should prevail, though, pressuring levels back towards longer-term trends as evidenced by the tame price and ample supply of timber. And again, pressuring levels back towards longer-term trends. The longer-term trends I was talking about are all those news reports from last year that deflation is on the horizon. In short, what I'm trying to tell you is that Don Jr. is a stupid son of a bitch who probably can't read. Just saying. Because God damn, he's dumb.
The price of energy, you've seen the price of housing, you've seen the price across commodities. Like we haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, because you've seen a pop, because we went from a stagnant economy here and abroad, supply chains being choked to near nothing, but none of it is based on lack of demand or lack of supply. It's the supply chain that was fucked. Once you fix the supply chain, what you're going to have is a glut of shit hitting the market at the same time, causing deflation. And if you have any brains at all, and I guarantee, as dumb as Don Jr. is, his accountant or his investment advisor or whoever that he's got working on his shit is hedging all of this stuff. They're all hedging on the concept of deflation.
You know what that...
By the way, that's why the room is crickets. Because all these kids are on their fucking phones, and they all know this.
is, folks? That's a tax on the American middle class. Okay?
Well, then they're getting a huge fucking tax break when it all hits the shit right before Christmas.
Guess what, guys?
Guys.
I'm the son of a billionaire.
And you're not. If. It's a big fucking if.
And it pisses me
Yeah. And I'm a Chinese jet pilot.
off to fill up my truck.
Hold on. What?
Son of a billionaire.
No, back up. What the fuck?
Guess what, guys? I'm the son of a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
And it pisses me off to fill up my truck.
Uh-huh. Then you're probably not the son of a billionaire? Or you're an entitled prick? Or that explains why you're doing cameos for Booger Sugar? Because if you're the son of a billionaire and gassing up your car ever bothers you, I call bullshit.
It's hurting a lot of people. If I'm sitting there being like, man, think of what it's doing to hardworking Americans who are working hard.
Yeah, unlike you, who isn't and ain't.
To feed their families. They're taxing the hell out of them already, and that's before they implement the other garbage that they want to throw at you.
Yeah, what's the other garbage? The whole garbage about if your bags get lost, you get your money for the fee back, or if you pay for Wi-Fi on a plane, it gets refunded to you if it doesn't work. You know, like the saying goes, Steph's saying, like the saying goes, if you have to ask the price, you can't afford it. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Putin in the pipeline. Remember this? The media? The media, to prove how competent Joe Biden is, to prove how non-dementia riddled he is, the media took a quote from Vladimir Putin. They go, no. Look, Vladimir Putin, after talking with Joe Biden, says he's very sharp.
Yeah. Normally the dude does nothing but like fillet your dad. But that wasn't a sign that shows us that Biden is sharp. It just shows us that Putin has moved on from your dad and recognizes he has to deal with the United States because there's a new sheriff in town. You don't actually think we need Vladimir Putin to tell us that Biden doesn't have dementia and or that Trump didn't or doesn't. You don't actually think we need that, do you? No, that's indicative of Putin's behavior in terms of whether or not he respects what he's up against in terms of the United States.
Really? Vlad's really sharp. Joe's really
You might want to.
sharp. Vlad said so. Look, that's the example. I mean, they are using Putin, who is laughing his ass off at us, who's taking us to school on a global basis. You think Vladimir Putin is happy that he's negotiating against Joe Biden versus Trump?
Well, no, because he doesn't have any compromise on Biden.
He's thrilled. He'll say whatever he wants because he's getting what he wants, right?
What's he getting?
It
Oh, the pipeline, right?
wasn't just an
That we can turn off with a sanction. It's a guy. I mean, the pipeline has a briar patch aspect to it. I'm just saying.
oil pipeline, right? What was the next thing that happened? They canceled an aid package to the Ukraine, right?
No. No, that was before, and it was a false story.
I don't know, guys. I'm old enough to remember 8 months ago when that was grounds for impeachment.
Yeah, but it was first it didn't happen, but the concept is that it was based on the actual desires of Congress and the administration, just like getting rid of the prosecutor. Whereas your dad, it wasn't denying. By the way, denying Ukraine in the case of a loan guarantees or military support is not in and of itself an impeachable offense. It's why you do it. If you do it because it is the policy of the United States and it carries out a strategy that we have with our allies, for example, it's completely fine. If you do it because you know your dad is a fucking loser and he's screwing the pooch during the election and he has a panic attack and says, I've got to get some dirt on Joe Biden or I'm going to lose this thing, I'll make a phone call and then Rudy can fly over there and talk this guy into drumming up a Comey moment for me, then that would be an issue.
Right?
No. Wrong.
Are we seeing a pattern here, folks?
Yes, we see a pattern. You have a difficulty perceiving reality. And thanks very much.
That's the hypocrisy. And the arbiters of truth want nothing to do with the truth. They are there to fulfill the narrative.
Thanks for subscribing. Don't forget, like and subscribe, follow, and all that kind of stuff. And by the way, that's it? That's the whole chunk? That clip was called, by the way, this is from Don Jr.'s, oh, ouch. Tell me that's a fake account. This can't be his official account. 493 subscribers, Donald Trump Jr.? That's got to be rough. 100 views? That's the whole thing? And this one's called Don Jr. Goes Off on the Biden Disaster. No, it kind of just says the same shit he's been saying on a bunch of other stuff. I'm just saying.